Good afternoon, investigators. Casey Evans and Mike Evans with Spy Curious, episode 315, the weekly news program for private investigators around Australia. If you just missed it, people, if you only just missed it, you missed Casey presenting over at Investigations Uni on OSINT. Now, this is a skill you must have as a licensed investigator, and Casey just spent the last 65 minutes explaining how it all works for licensed private investigators at Investigations Uni, which is the weekly program for students and graduates of the Australian Security Academy to support their continuous professional development, networking, and for their participation in their study. So each week we meet there. You can ask questions about the program. If you're watching, say hello in the chat. Don't be afraid to. Casey, that was a magnificent presentation. We'll come back to you in one moment to go through while you catch your breath. Okay. In the news this week, just came out of Southport Court today. This father of 11 got the taser off the cops. No, he didn't actually. The cops tried to enter his premises where he was in a domestic dispute with his brother, and a foot of the police officer got jammed in the door, and this guy produced a taser on the police, and the police had to taser him. So it was a chaotic series of events. If you want to find out all about it, it's pretty sad. It doesn't sound half as exciting as it's played up to be in the Gold Coast Bulletin, but you can read all about it in the Gold Coast Bulletin. G'day, Todd. Great to see you, mate. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for checking in. G'day, Amber. Great to see you. Chantel, wonderful to see you. I hope everything's great in northern New South Wales. Nenad, great to see you, mate. Thanks for checking in. Sorry I missed you this week. and g'day, Courtney. Thanks for saying hello, everybody. Yes, we're all fired up over Casey's presentation, which was absolutely excellent. Really was. If you want to locate people, and in investigations, it's a requirement that you must locate people. Now, not always are they going to be missing persons. Not always do they know that someone's even looking for them. In the majority of cases, it's going to be for the case that they were at the accident scene, they assisted or they witnessed it, they left their name and details, you know, Mick from Timbuktu. Now, someone has to locate Mick from Timbuktu to confirm the accident happened, as they said, in a CTP liability matter or a workers' compensation matter or a public liability investigation matter, a stolen motor vehicle matter. We don't know. They're completely innocent, but we need a statement from them in relation to do it. We locate them, and that's why we get the job. G'day, Chantel. Thanks for checking in. Great to see you. So, excellent presentation today, Casey. Absolutely pleased with that. It was really good to see. So the big news for Casey this week, here we go. We have a drum roll, and I haven't got any balloons ready, but Casey is now the Chief Operations Officer at the Australian Security Academy.
Permanent fixture.
How about that? The Chief Operating Officer, Casey, that means all the way through from now on, basically, people, Casey is the chief. So we just have to treat her like it.
Yes, Chief Inspector Evans.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief Petty Officer Link.
Yes, Chief!
Oh, yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief, he was.
Chief.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief.
Yes.
How good is that? Casey is oh, Chief. Chief. G'day, Casey. Chief. At the Australian Security Academy. Congratulations on that appointment, Casey. That's an amazing effort. And everybody's very pleased to see it. I think we're both clicking buttons at once. Good on you, Case. Very well deserved.
Thank
so
you.
we're all really proud of you, and that's a substantial appointment. But I tell you what, it's a substantial responsibility too, and you're well aware of that. That's no news to Casey. So Casey's going to be talking with us, talking about what she did at the NIIC conference last Friday. So we'll come back to Casey in a minute. During the presentation she just did on Investigations Uni, she talked about LinkedIn, and she talked about the dangers of LinkedIn sometimes. And this week I was attempted to be scammed on LinkedIn. And I'll do it really quickly. Here I am. I'm here with a couple of other really professional investigators. Did you miss that? Right. And we've been put in a group chat. We didn't put ourselves in the group chat. So someone has put us in a group chat attempting to do something. I don't know what, but that happened to us this week. I immediately got out of congratulations, Casey, from Todd and Amber. That's fantastic. Amazing. Chantel, well done. Chief Casey. So on LinkedIn, unexpectedly, someone attempted to, I don't know, take over my profile or whatever by setting up some kind of thing in a group chat on LinkedIn. I'm sure they knew what they were doing. I didn't know what they were doing. So quite interesting to see that. There is a wealth of jobs today, people. If you're looking for an investigator's role in investigations, get over to the Australian Private Investigator Corporate Government Investigators jobs page. I'll be talking more about that later after Casey explains what happened in her program. What happened at the NIIC conference last week. And I might as well jump straight into that and let Casey tell us all.
Thanks, Mike. It was really, really wonderful. I met students past, present, and future, which is always such a treat. As I said, in Investigations Uni, our industry is so small and it is so niche. You tend to know a lot of people across Australia in the same industry. And it's really nice to be in a room full of your peers and contemporaries, to actually meet people. I had known people for years, but had never met them in person. So it was amazing to get together. And I've got a little picture here of, where did I put it? Me and the wonderful Michelle, who was always here saying hi. So it was amazing to meet Michelle. This is us after a very, very long day of learning and networking, and we had beautiful sunset drinks at SeaWorld. So thank you, Michelle, for that photo. It was wonderful to meet you. And cringe. Oh, you looked beautiful. It was amazing. It was so wonderful. So I was the first speaker off the rank, which was great. I did OSINT for beginners, which is basically just a high-level overview of information in regards to the basics of OSINT for investigators. So it doesn't matter if you are a factual investigator, a government investigator, a surveillance operative, you should know the basics of open source intelligence, because that way you can do stuff yourself to help your case. Or if you have people that are reporting to you or giving you information, desktop investigations information, at least you understand what they're giving you. At least you understand where it comes from. Thanks, Nenad. So having that high level of just understanding, really, it really helps you as an investigator, and every investigator should know that. The second speaker, who was Richard James, he spoke about surveillance, and he was phenomenal. He is from Rivercar in, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, in Melbourne. It's a fantastic agency in Melbourne. He spoke about doing surveillance in this day and age, what it requires, and also the ethics that it requires. So as we know that in New South Wales and Queensland, coercive control laws have come into place, but they haven't in Victoria. So regardless of whether the laws are that way in your state or territory, you have an ethical responsibility. And he spoke to that in a really, really well articulated way. Thank you, Emily. Awesome. So yes, it's really important to be ethical as an investigator. So Richard James, he is on LinkedIn. I suggest you go look him up. He's a big advocate for the industry. He won an award from Brad Lyons as new association, AIMPAC, for his work in the industry. So that was really, really good to learn about what he does and his passion for the industry. A lot of us are really, really passionate about this industry, which really warms my heart. Kat from Skip Tracing Australia was also one of the speakers, and she spoke about the 10 things that she had learned while setting up her skip tracing business, which was really great. I would actually love to get her on the show to talk about this, because it's really good for people who are coming into the industry and setting up their own businesses and understanding what you are in for and what you should probably be doing to set yourself up for success. Kat was amazing at talking about that, and that was really grateful just to have the curtain lifted as to what it takes to run a successful, in her case, skip tracing business in Australia. So that was a really fascinating talk. Brad did a talk on image intelligence, which was fantastic, and also launched his new association, AIMPAC. And also we had Nick, who's the CEO of Polonius, come and talk about the case management system, Polonius, which is specifically for investigators. So, and how that kind of case management system can really benefit you as an investigator, especially someone that wants to grow their business. Having all of your investigation pieces in one place, from the first email to the photographs to the statements to the affidavits, having that all in one specific spot, and where you can also bring other investigators in to work on the same case in the same spot is really, really handy. And so to hear him talk about that is fantastic. I've used Polonius many times. Most of the agencies that I've worked for have it. So I have my own Polonius logins for their different Polonius platforms, and I just go in there and work on a case and submit it all through there. It's fantastic. So it's safe, it's secure, and it keeps all of your stuff in one spot so you know exactly where it is. And they also have launched case management system for skip tracers as well, which is really handy, and also for individual operators. So case management systems can run into the thousands and thousands of dollars. And if you are an individual operator, sometimes it's really difficult to afford these things. So they've made a entry-level system essentially to help people manage their cases. And when you have one thing that's managing your case, and you can see whether it's done, you can see where you're up to, you can see what you have, it saves you time, it saves you energy, and that way you are more, you know exactly where you're up to. So Nick is a massive systems and processes guy, as I am. So yeah, case management systems definitely work in your favor. If you're only taking a couple of cases a month because you've pivoted out of the police force or government investigations and you're doing investigations just to keep your toe in the field because you enjoy it, using your spreadsheets and your Word docs, I'm sure that's perfectly fine. You probably don't want to go spending money on things that aren't worth it to you. But if you are trying to grow your investigations business, it's a fantastic asset to your business. So check out Polonius. Bit of a plug for them there. And Nick's really lovely guy. Will speak to anyone. He's on LinkedIn as well. We got these really lovely National Intelligence and Investigations Conference books, which is notepads, which is really great for any investigator for your contemporaneous notes. So I always love goodies when I go along to a conference. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I love conferences. I believe Brad will be holding one next year, and given the success of this one and how it sold out fairly quickly, he will be probably looking at a bigger venue. So highly recommend it. You learn so much, you get around and speak to people. I have connected with like so many people on LinkedIn. Your net worth is equivalent to your network, as the saying goes. This is an excellent place to network. And LinkedIn is just such a fantastic resource for investigators. If you are not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. send me a connection, send Mike a connection. Excellent. I'm great. I'm really happy that you enjoyed it and you'll come along next year. So I'm sure that as it gets bigger and bigger and better, he'll get more speakers and yeah, it'll just get bigger from here, I'm sure. So highly, highly recommend. And yeah.
Very good summary, Casey. I cannot overemphasize for investigators in your continuous professional development, attend conferences. I go to conferences, I sit in the front row and I just write notes because the way I remember things, I write them down. That's the way I remember things. And people go, oh, you rude prick, you're not even looking, but I paid to go. I'm writing down, I'm honouring them by writing down what they're saying. It's just the way I learn, okay? And over the years, it's given me several options, alternatives, ideas, directions that I could apply in my business and make it grow. So you get that from conferences, and you'll hear me say over at Investigations Uni, look, you know, we have this each week. You know, we are consistent in delivering it, and it's for the benefit of our students and our graduates. But conferences they're not consistent. Okay, they're annually consistent, but they're intense. So you get the advantage of a full day's intense learning from 8 or 9 different professionals in their field who, you know, are showing you different ideas, different options, that sort of thing. And it's just totally beneficial. If there are some people that think, oh, I'll get my certificate 3, that's all I need. Okay, well, that's great. And they'll be a subcontractor or an employee forever. But if they've got that mindset where they want to grow their business and get bigger and that sort of thing, well, they have to continuously professional develop. And that's the advantage of attending conferences such as that and looking at the variety of speakers, what they say and what they do. So I encourage everybody to do it all the time. It's beneficial for you personally, for your employer, and for the industry when you go and do that. So let's have a look at just some of the jobs that are available this week over at our Facebook page. Starting off with this one, we all want this job. So McDonald's have a workplace investigation specialist position vacant at Thornley in Sydney, New South Wales. So back in the day, I used to investigate for McDonald's quite a bit. And no, it wasn't playground accidents. It was mostly adult slips, trips and falls and motor vehicle accidents in the driveway where people claimed that they were severely injured by whiplash with low impact hits in the driveway. So that was always interesting. This job is from Brookside Investigations. They're after a factual investigator in Brisbane. So Brookside Investigations are a national company. They operate in every state and territory in Australia. Any conferences are going to be, I don't know. Usually getting towards September, October, November, you will find a lot of them are. So we try and promote them here because we're about promoting the industry and raising it up. That's what we want, okay? So hopefully, as they came up with Ken Gamble last year in Sydney, getting towards end of November, early December, we promoted that, and I'm sure he'll be back this year. He's got one on this week. He had one on this week where he was a speaker, but this when he has his annual conference, we'll let you know on here and any others coming up too. So certainly we'll advise you. That's what we're here for each week. Just got to jump back here. Online investigator is wanted by Allied Universal Compliance and Investigations. If you don't know what a desktop investigator is, you better get over to Investigations Uni and find out, because Casey just spent 65 minutes telling everybody what it was, and she's going to be rather pissed off as Chief Operation Officer if you don't know how to do it. So Allied Universal want you. So that's really important. Work from home, this one, vendor management. They employ every graduate student of ours that applies. So why aren't you applying to vendor management for a job in Brisbane in Queensland as an investigator? And mostly they're going to be doing general investigations at vendor management. Great team, vendor management and Allied Universal. Multiple general insurance investigators are wanted in Melbourne, Victoria by Quantum Corp. So general insurance, what is it? It's home arson, home burglary, stolen motor vehicles, public liability, home and content slips, trips and falls with visitors and builders, contractors, plumbers, electricians, that sort of thing in your home. That's what general insurance is all about. And the really good thing about general insurance is there's a lot of fraud investigation in general insurance. Disappointingly, there's not a lot in CTP liability or workers' compensation, but there certainly is in general insurance. Daniel, sorry. What does that say, please, Case?
Hi, Mike.
Case,
Would you be
read?
able to send me the link to the Facebook page, please?
Yeah, actually, if you just, what you got to do, what everybody has to do, Danielle, and I'm not being rude or smart, is just Australian private investigators, corporate and government investigator jobs. If you put that into a Facebook search, it will come up. Now, it will ask you two questions. The first question it will ask you is, are you an Australian resident, right? And just tick yes, and then it'll say, are you interested in working as an investigator or are you seeking information on jobs? Tick yes. A lot of people don't tick either, and I just delete them, right? So I'd want to know that you live here, there's going to be a value to it, and you're just not going to spam everybody else in the group. A lot of people slip through the cracks. I can't stop everyone. And I only put up today 15% of the available jobs because I'm too busy to do it. All right, there is a massive range of workers' compensation, CTP liability, motor vehicle accidents, stolen motor vehicle, general insurance investigations out there available as far as jobs are in relation to job vacancies around Australia. So I'll keep moving on and hope I get it right. Safe Work New South Wales, this is a government investigator job. So the Department of Customer Service, after an investigator at Safe Work New South Wales, which is not unusual, you'll get a lot of opportunities with Safe Work New South Wales. And this one's really important. TAC and factual investigators for the LKA group. Now you'll see ProCare advertising for this as well. So both of those two organisations were winners of the tender for the suppliers to TAC, Transport Accident Commission in Victoria. It's really important that you understand that you are going to be going out, taking statements from people and conducting records of interview with people in relation to motor vehicle accidents. Now, what you're going to be doing when you go and do this is you're going to be confirming the circumstances of what happened. It's really interesting work. I interviewed 12 people in correctional facilities who were paying for what they did, what the accident they caused, and they were completely honest with me, all of them, about how much they had to drink. They were driving unlicensed, they were driving affected by drugs, all that sort of thing. Didn't matter now because they were in jail for that now, right? So they had nothing to hide, nothing to lose, and they gave me honest accounts of, you know, what they consumed before they caused the accident and injured or killed that other person. So Transport Accident Commission in Victoria, that's specifically for Victoria, but you could be in Tasmania, Western Australia, New South Wales, and do Transport Accident Commission investigations. Because if it's an insured Victorian vehicle, right, registered in Victoria and has an accident interstate in Western Australia in the desert, and the largest claim for the Transport Accident Commission, and you can see it in this program if you go through some old episodes, was over $6.5 million, and the guy got the money, right? That happened in Western Australia, not in Footscray. So really interesting work with the Transport Accident Commission. You'll see that on our Facebook page. Fraud investigator for Services New South Wales. Again, this is a government job. You don't need a licence for this one. You need a certificate for in government investigation, not fraud control, just government investigation. Multiple general insurance ones. I've done that. That's for Quantum Corp. Put it up twice. Really important job. So is the customer service one. Put them all up twice just to reinforce it. So regardless, people, can't hit the right buttons. Regardless, there are lots of jobs available for licensed investigators who hold the Certificate 3 in Investigative Services throughout Australia. So once again, this is the Facebook page. It's a resource to go to. Now, I try to keep it as clean as I possible with job vacancies, okay? Can't promise that's going to happen all the time, but, you know, I try to do that. ProCare are looking for a factual investigator. in the Morning Peninsula in Victoria. So once again, they've got to be licensed with the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division. Coming up in news in 3 weeks' time, we're going to find out about the remaking the Victorian private security regulations. Now, there's been a massive turnout in relation to this issue and training of security people in Victoria announced by ASQA this week. And it affects the new inspector's decision in relation to this matter in Victoria. What ASQA told their auditors this week was there are 4,000 registered training organisations in Australia. Those 4,000 registered training organisations have 40,000 third-party agreements registered with the regulator ASQA. Down in Victoria, 2 RTOs recently, in the last recent 5 years, basically didn't have approved trainers, didn't have approved courses, used trainers without the qualification approved by the Licensing Regulation Division in accordance with the conditions of approval for the LRD, and they didn't have a registered agreement with ASQA. So what that means is the new inspector at the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division now has a major issue. Which one of his approved RTOs, which ones are part of that 40,000 agreements with other entities that aren't RTOs that are doing training? It's possible that they could be. So this puts a whole new different light on the decision about this, let alone the fact that there were some crooks that didn't even have it registered with ASQA and they didn't even have registered trainers. So this is a really interesting development in what's happening down, and really worthwhile watching how the new inspector at the Licensing Regulation Division, the police inspector there, is going to handle that knowledge of the 40,000 training agreements with other entities. So that's a really interesting one. I watch that with much interest. Information promoting industry's general question, would promoting having a standard nationalised law across the country instead of... Yeah, good point. They've been trying to bring it in for years, but what we have for separation of powers, so we can't get a tyrant taking over the country from one state and ruling the whole country and telling them this is how it's going to be, right? Each state makes its own laws in relation to various things. It might be licensing for security, it might be horse racing, it might be real estate agents, it might be introduction agents. It doesn't matter what it is, but each state has the separation of powers that says you are in charge of that. No one from Canberra is going to dictate to you how that should work. I'm sure Amber would be very good at dictating to the country how things should work down in Canberra, and Amber would happily do that. But we may have some concerns there, because we'd all have to take up car racing because that's Amber's main interest, and we might like walking our dogs or something. So the separation of powers between the states is what prevents that national licence. Now, coming back to the Victorian Police LRD, excuse me, and the monitoring of the regulations down there. Going back 6 years, you could run by clockwork. Every afternoon at 4 o'clock, I'd get a phone call. My phone would start ringing off the hook, and they would be security guards from Victoria, and their nationality, all of them, was Indian. And they'd ring up and ask me about getting a security risk management qualification to open a security firm in Victoria. Now, that's okay. That's fine. It's perfectly all right. Right. So what happened was an Indian person would win a contract, and then they'd subcontract that contract out for security to another Indian person and sell it to them. It's culturally what they do. And I thought, I just can't get my head around this. So I had nothing to do one Sunday afternoon in New York like you do, and I went to New York's biggest Indian temple. And my wife and I walked around, and we tipped out some milk, and we broke some coconuts, and we you got to go clockwise. Don't do not go anti-clockwise, all right? And we gave some coins, I'm not sure what they were, this is American, to the deities and that sort of thing. And then we went and had lunch after with everybody there, and we watched the ceremonies and the singing and the coconuts and the milk spilling and all that sort of fun. And it was like a big party. And it's just a massive, great community that support each other. And this is what they were doing in Victoria. But they were just constantly cutting and subcontracting down. And the Victorian Police sort of regulation division, they didn't like it, and they sort of found out about it, and they addressed it at the time. There's been no mass getting rid of them or anything like that. It was more like creating awareness and disseminating information to help them. No one was ripping off anybody. It's just how that community works. And, they support each other, and they meet, religious ceremonies each week and party on like you do at Christmas or Easter or something like that. So it's really interesting to watch that as part of that licensing process. It didn't happen in New South Wales. It didn't happen in Western Australia. It mostly happened only in Victoria because of the massive security industry there, 6 million people, and mass need for security guards. So you get interesting little pockets of it, which I guess the separation of powers has got to support its own community in its own state, and that becomes part of it as well. Reiterating on today, and congratulations, Casey Pine, on becoming the Chief Operations Officer of the Australian Security Academy. We found our balloons. We'll get her to make a speech next week in relation to that. So that's our big news for this week. I didn't cover the fact that we now have in our industry association, which is growing bigger every week. I just got to find my numbers. We now have 1,292 members of AirLap in our industry association. Our industry association, to become a member of that, you only have to be an Australian Security Academy student, and it's free. You don't have to pay an annual fee. You never have to actually get off your desktop and go anywhere. We meet at AirLap. We meet at Investigations Uni every Friday for our CPD or for our feedback for whatever, the opportunity may present. But 1,292 makes us the largest investigation industry association in Australia, and growing. It's not peaking out at all. It's very well supported, as most people in the chat you've seen today are members of it. And congratulations on the growth of that and your participation in making it successful. And Casey, as Chief Operations Officer of the Australian Security Academy, I am sure she will make that increase fourfold in the coming future. Thanks very much, mate. Good to see you. Thanks for saying good day. Well, I think thanks, Greg. I really appreciate you saying good day, mate. So basically, that's everything we had to cover today. Don't forget, if you get a chance, you've got it in your email, get over and check out Casey's presentation today. I reckon, and I would rate that as the top presentation we've had in Investigations Uni, equal to any 50 by Pat Flynn. And the other really good one, if you ever get a chance to see it, and it's really important, check out what Evan Frangos has done in relation to his presentation in there as well. So there's some great presentations for you to take advantage of. Great to see you last week, Michelle. Casey's very tall, isn't she? No one actually knows that.
Yeah, Michelle's not short.
You're no shorty, Michelle, but Casey's just extremely tall. That's the issue.
That's what that was the comment from most people. Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, I thought you'd be shorter.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. Tower above everybody.
Thanks for enjoying us in the fun today, people. And we're about, look, come on. we're about enjoying our job as investigators. We have a very serious job. It's sometimes very difficult. It's very serious, the outcomes of what we do. What I learned 35 years ago in investigation agencies and loss adjusting firms I worked for back then, you're allowed to have fun. You're allowed to have a laugh. You're allowed to enjoy your job, no matter what other people tell you. Enjoy being a licensed private investigator, everyone. We'll be back next week with more from Spy Curious, and look forward to seeing you there then. And I've almost lost everything and I'm going out the usual way.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
Yes, that's our mission complete. Episode 350 of Spy Curious. Thanks very much for joining us, Casey Pine. Thanks for your participation, everybody. If you enjoyed our program today and enjoyed Casey being the new Chief Operations Officer of the Australian Security Academy, where from now on, for the rest of our lives, we've all got to...
Yes, Chief Inspector Evans.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief Petty Officer Link.
Yes, Chief!
Oh, yes, Chief.
Yes.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief.
Yes, Chief Gaines.
Yes, Chief.
It's going to be suffering and painful for the next 10 years.
Oh, God.
Thanks for your participation, Chief Casey.
No worries.
Is basketball on tonight?
Nope.
No basketball tonight, is there?
We have a bye.
Oh, very good. All right. Okay. Thanks for watching, people. Really enjoyed your participation. Thanks for your feedback. Everything. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next week, everybody.